Hi, this is Dorothy Smith. I'm a close to my heart independent consultant, and today I'm going to show you how I made an Atlantic Card Sketch Challenge number 333 and the Color Dare Challenge using the colors I picked out are New England Ivy, Gold Rush, and Charcoal, and also Linen. And how I made a sympathy card using the sunflower with this wonderful stamp set and thin cut set that I've got called Sunflower Sympathy. And I might use some of those leaves there, which is also another one of our wonderful thin cuts available right now. So I'm going to use, of course, to use the thin cuts, I need my Cuddle Bug. So I've got my pink Cuddle Bug. And unfortunately, sorry to say that Cricut stopped making the Cuddle Bug, but close to my heart, has picked up another die cutter that they are offering if you get Hostess rewards. So, and I will be an affiliate for Cricut to purchase various items. So that's pretty exciting. So I am going to use the Gold Rush to make the sunflower, which makes complete sense. And I'm going to cut one on the darker side of the Gold Rush, which is the normal color of Gold Rush, and then also a lighter one. So when you flip the cardstock over, we have a couple of shades lighter of the same exact color. So I'll have a choice on whether I use the darker side or the lighter side, and it just kind of depends on what it's gonna look like, because I don't have this totally planned out before I'm doing it. I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants maybe, but you know, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so I've got my two sunflowers cut out, and now I'm going to take the New England Ivy and I am going to cut the leaves out that also come with the set. So I'm going to cut some out on the darker side, and then might cut some lighter ones out too. So I'll have also a choice there using the lighter and the darker, and there's not a lot of difference between the lighter and darker shade of the New England Ivy, but just a little teeny bit. So anyway, it's always nice to have a choice, and it would be nice to have not necessarily the same exact color leaf on the card, to have a darker one and a lighter one. So we'll see what happens. So I've got my choice, and that's what's important, because making decisions is not my forte. Okay, so I cut a piece of linen cardstock. I think it's linen, pretty sure it's linen, and I might be using the light side. That is the same exact size of the card, which is 5.5 by 4.25. It's an A2 card. And so that's going to cover up all of the white on the front of the card. And then I cut a piece of charcoal for the background, and that is a 1/4 inch smaller, so it is 5.25 by 4 for my, so just 1/8 inch of the linen shows through. So just a, you know, just a hint. And I'm going to go ahead and attach that to the front of the card. So then what I'm going to do is get I need another piece of New England Ivy, because that little piece that's left isn't big enough. Because it's well, I could have used it, but I didn't want to. I didn't want the sunflower to overflow the green background. So I've got my New England Ivy, and I'm going to actually use the darker side of, the lighter side of the New England Ivy, and I'm cutting a 3.5 by 4 inch piece that is going to go onto the charcoal and be the background for my sunflower. So there we go. So that'll be a nice background for the sunflower. It'll make it stand out very nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and put the stamp on my block, get a hold of my little sponge so that I get a real good impression of the stamp on the cardstock, and I'm going to use Gold Rush ink on both the dark and the light side. I think that's what I'm going to do anyway. So I'm just rotating the stamp around so I kind of know where to place the stamp. So this is not a symmetrical flower, so that's why you kind of want to make sure you know where to put the little points so that you get the right kind of stamping with it. So there's the darker side. So I'm thinking that maybe the dark ink, the gold rush ink, well, let's see how it looks on. It should show up faintly, but it should show up. Yeah, there it does. It looks fine. And I'll go ahead, I'm wiping using, we have a new chamois now for cleaning our stamps, and it's really nice. I really like the way it works on the stamps. So I'm going to put my sunflower away and take out the center, which is, all those dark gray seeds from the, sunflower seeds, Dorothy. And I'm going to stamp that in charcoal, make sure that it works out okay. And I might be using a second generation. That's what I'm doing. I'm making a second generation. Excuse me, meaning that I ink up the stamp and then put one stamp on scrap paper and then put the leftover ink on the stamp on the inside of the sunflower. So I don't want it to be super bold and stick out a whole lot from the sunflower. So I just wanted it to show up lightly. So I think I kind of like the lighter, and then I'm going to put a couple of the leaves there, and we've got stamps for the leaves. See, the lighter I think looks better. We have stamps for the leaves, and I'm just going to go ahead and use New England Ivy ink to go ahead and stamp those leaves. So, once again, the leaves aren't symmetrical, so you need to make sure that you've got the right the stamp lined up with your cut. So that looks cool. I mean, that's fine. So there's the dark side, and then here's the lighter side of the leaf. Which really comes out looking nice. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the little thin leaf and do the stamping the dark one and stamping the light one. So, it's not a big deal on these to use both sides so that you're giving yourself really a choice to, what you think looks better. And that way you don't have to go back and do it, pull everything out again and do it all over again. So I'm just going to stack the leaves, figure out which one looks better. And it's good to just kind of place a few around and see what you think, and go with your gut, what do you think looks better? And so I kind of decided, the Atlantic Card Sketch Challenge has several figures in the lower right hand corner that you can put there, and I'm thinking, what do I want? And so I'm getting out my Cuttlebug anyway. Like I said, I didn't plan this, so this is your watching thinking, if you want to call it that, on the run here. Okay, so this stamp also comes with a cute little butterfly, and I believe the butterfly is symmetrical, so this can go either way. And kind of what I decided was, since the sketch challenge is showing, I believe it's 3 flowers maybe in the lower part of the picture, I'm going to put 3 butterflies. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut out 3 of the butterflies, and that's going to be my try set of items. Let's see, here we go. I'm really making this scrap paper and just barely got that butterfly in there. Anyway, it's a nice little butterfly, and it happens to be symmetrical, so you can actually stamp him either way, and it's very simple. So, I decided to stay with the yellow, the Gold Rush theme with the butterfly, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp. I was going to do the Gold Rush, but I think I've decided to do the charcoal on the butterfly. So that's kind of like the butterflies. I don't know if those are considered veins in the wings of the butterfly, but so his little body and those veins that show the distinction of the wings is going to be in charcoal. So I think the little butterfly looks cute. So I like that. So I'm going to do the other butterflies, and I'm going to have probably 2 light ones and a dark one, so that they're not all looking the same. So there we go. That looks cute. I like those. So I'm going to have a little flurry of butterflies that's coming to visit the sunflower. And what I especially like about this stamp, it's really a nice sympathy stamp. So it has the phrases on it are sending you hugs, always in my heart, with deepest sympathy and thinking of you. And so they're just so kind of low-key, just to let people know that you're thinking of them at that time. And so I'm bending up my butterflies a little bit so that there's some movement in the butterfly. And I'm going to go ahead and probably pop up the sunflower, put the cardstock down, the green cardstock. So that's just going to be flat. And they have it off center, so that's fine. Now, if I was smart, what I would have done here is to put the sentiment down before I put the flower. So like I told you, I wasn't thinking, I didn't have this all planned out ahead of time. So this shows. But it would have been much easier to put the sentiment down now and then put the sunflower in place. I think I was just too excited about getting the sunflower and the leaves in place. What can I say? So I'm just using my foam tape, which we carry close to my heart, to pop up the leaves. And so, you've got some dimension on the flower and some added dimension on the leaves, and then the butterflies will add even a little bit more dimension. Probably the other thing that I will add to this, which I didn't do on the video, is add maybe some pretty sparkles to the card, to the front of the card, just to add a little shininess to it. So I'm going to put the butterflies in place, and I'm kind of bending them up, and I like the way they look down at the bottom. I could have actually moved it more on top of the flower if I wanted to, and that would have been just fine, actually. But there's the second one, and then I put my foam in place. And for the butterflies, you just want to bend them sort of in half. Maybe if you can get a little flat area where the body is, then you've got a good place to put your foam tape, and there's all my little butterflies. So this is what I was saying. Now, had I put the sentiment down first, I could have done the placement of the flower and the butterflies differently. So what I'm going to do is split the stamp up and put, see, the sending you doesn't really fit down there, but, and then the hugs gets in the way up there. So I'm going to split up sending you hugs. So the sending you is going to go up at the top, and I'm just not putting ink on the hugs because it's offset enough from the sending you. So I can just kind of put the sending you there and wipe it off real good, and then just ink up the hugs and make sure there's nothing that's gonna put a mark on the flowers or the leaves. And the H didn't come down, so now I've got to stamp over it. It's kind of hard to see what I'm doing, but it worked. So there we go. So sending you hugs is the front of the card, and it's kind of low-key with the dark colors, but fall's coming up, and the sunflowers, I think, are, and you could actually just use this if somebody doesn't have to have a loss in the family. You could just use it for if something happened, a divorce or whatever, anything that you'd give somebody a hug for. So you could just leave it at that and then write a note on the inside of the card, telling your friend that you're thinking of them. So that's most of the card made, but I'm going to go ahead and put a sentiment on the inside and just go ahead and finish out my card. And first I was thinking, well, I hate to not use my other sunflower, and I was thinking of putting a sentiment on there with sympathy, but I'm just going to put it directly on the card. So there we go. And I got a little wet spot on there. My block was wet, but that'll dry off. Okay, it won't be a problem. And then I don't think this shows up, but I'm putting my little stamp, made with love. Hope you like my card.